Grow Great is a city government leadership podcast with Lisa Norris and me, Randy Cantrell. Each week we share insights, experiences, and wisdom to help you and your leadership grow great. Our website is growgreat.com.
There's an old, I say old, I'm sure he's passed away by now, John Sebastian. John Sebastian was a guy that he was a kind of a folky singer-songwriter, and he wrote a song. I'm pretty sure he wrote it. All the stories we could tell. You know, you've heard it. I'm not going to sing it because I've got a cold. If I didn't have a cold, I would sing it. But he talks about, you know, we did it for the stories we can tell. Now, Lisa knows, and if you've listened to us much at all, you probably can tell. I'm pretty fascinated by narrative and storytelling. And by storytelling, I don't mean fiction, but I mean just the narrative, the perspective. And I'm that way because I've just seen the power of that in my professional life. I've seen it in the lives of other leaders. And sometimes we have lived with the story for so long because we're looking at life through our eyes and we see it the way we see it. And we just assume that other people, they see what we see. And they don't. And this week has been not unlike, frankly, for me, not unlike any week. I spend a considerable amount of time with people because it seems to me that we don't give it enough thought. We don't give enough thought to the reception of the story or the narrative. We're thinking about it a certain way. We think other people, they're seeing it that way. And then there's this shock and awe that happens when we realize, oh, wait a minute. No, that's not what I meant at all. Now, you and I have talked before, because when we first met, Lisa used a term to describe herself, and she used the term taskmaster. And my ears perked up because I had an immediate sense of what that is. You say taskmaster to me, and I'm thinking mush. You know, it's somebody that just a stern taskmaster is somebody that is just a driving animal. And I'm sitting here looking at this person this lovely lady that you guys see on the video, and I'm like, she doesn't strike me that way. And so I asked her, well, what do you mean by that? And so she told me that she is accomplishment driven. She's got to get stuff done. She wants to get stuff done. She does not like stuff hanging over her head. She does not like unfinished business. She wants to get it done. She likes to get tasks done. So she's a master of the task. That's how she meant it. Now, the interesting thing with all this is her boss, who commissioned me for her, I had met with her boss, and her boss used the exact same language to describe this person that I had not met yet. And so I thought, okay. Now, I would love to tell you that this is super uncommon, but it's not. This happens almost 100% of the time. And it's just kind of interesting to me. So in my world, the way it works is there's a sponsor. That would be Lisa's boss. There's the client. That would be Lisa. The confidentiality with the client is sacred, and the sponsor knows that. So I will typically get some kind of a lay of the land from the sponsor, person who's hiring me, typically for one of their direct reports. 99.9% of the time, these are all high performers. I don't do remedial work. These are people that are highly regarded, highly prized by the organization. I jokingly say nobody's going to give me a purchase order to get somebody out the door quicker. It just doesn't happen. So she has described this woman that I'm about to meet she's a taskmaster. Now, in that conversation, I don't think I asked because we were on kind of a tight schedule.
You're absorbing.
Yeah, and she was just trying to give me a lay of the land. But that was an interesting, and it's just an anecdote of what happens all the time, that we use language, we use words, we are in this storytelling mode, and it does prove a bunch of points, not the least of which is our bosses pay attention. I mean, our bosses hear that, and oftentimes they echo using the same vernacular that we use. And I'm in no way.
She described herself the same way.
Oh,
she
absolutely.
described herself the same way.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
She
So it
did
wasn't
it.
negative.
No, she did it. She described it in our conversation. It's just that here I am now, this outsider, and I'm like, I'm not thinking of this term the way these ladies are thinking about this term. So I'm like, well, maybe I'm out of step here. It just I think goes to show just this dance that we do with one another when it comes to language and words and storytelling. And I'm not talking about anything highbrow necessarily. It could be, but I'm just talking about just our daily interactions with people, our daily interactions with coworkers, and just this narrative that we create, because we've all got, truth be told, we are all we're all the number one star in our own movie. That movie being our lives. I mean, nobody's a bigger star in my life than me. Mm-hmm. Nobody's a bigger star in your life than you. Yes, right. We've got all these other people that are important to us, but we're not living our lives looking through their eyes. We're looking through our eyes, and we're processing everything with our feelings and our emotions and our background and our experiences and our insights and all the rest. And, so when it comes to trying to, I don't know, control's too strong of a word, but trying to properly influence that story that we are crafting, I'll simplify it. Here's how I'm thinking. Then I'm going to shut up and let you talk because my head's clogged up. But if we can get fixed in our mind the story that we most want to live, and if we can behave in ways that are congruent with living what we want to live, which means improving the things that we want to improve on, learning about the things that maybe we don't even know we need to improve, but maybe we do, getting even stronger in the areas that we are already strong, shoring up weaknesses so that those weaknesses aren't problematic. I mean, I'm never going to be, a strong math science guy. I'm not. But do I have to have some fundamental understanding of certain things? And have I had to understand? I mean, I have been in a technology-based world since I started selling stereo equipment. Numbers and math were a big deal. Specifications were big deals. Performance of electronics, big deal. Really, math and science. Well, I couldn't let that weakness be a problem. Well, I could, but that wasn't smart. So I dove in to shore that up, not to become an engineer, but just to better understand it so that I could do my job and help customers and so forth. So we've got to do all of that. And I think self-awareness is in here in a big, big way for us to craft the life that we want so that we are actually living the story that we want to live. So this is not about being fake it till you make it. This is not about living some Instagram life where we're pretending. This is about, can we aim for something higher? Can we aim for improvement? And then can we live that story out and then make sure that that narrative properly fits really what we're trying to do? I don't know. Probably that was way too wordy, but this is so important, I think, not just in managing up, but super important in managing sideways, in having these peer-to-peer conversations with people. Because let's face it, we're living in a real knee-jerk world. I mean, we're living in a headline I read the headline. I don't read anything
Fast
else.
pace,
Yeah.
get things done.
Yeah. And
Next item. Yeah.
And because of that, I just think there's an awful lot that gets lost in translation.
Yeah, I would tell you, and we've shared, if you're hearing this story before, we have shared it in other contexts on our other podcasts. So don't turn us off yet, because we're taking a little bit different twist on this one, because as Cheryl and my boss, the sponsor, described herself as a taskmaster, I was describing myself as a taskmaster, and this is early in our relationship. I remember her perspective to me. I don't know what she said to Randy, but
that's how she couched it.
Yeah.
That's how she
and so
couched it.
for me, she was saying, we were just having a conversation. I honestly can't tell you if this is before Randy, after Randy, because we have weeklies. So there's lots of conversations we have. And I just remember saying, you're describing yourself as a taskmaster, but I want to get you from taskmaster to strategic. Now, this caught me off guard. For those of you that know me, I'm super strategic. I'm always thinking of this overarching, where do I want to go? How do I need to get there? What do I need to be 5 years from now? And how am I going to get my team there? And then what are the current challenges we have to overcome? The problem was the story. Exactly what Randy talked about. This is where, when I'm describing myself, so it's important to understand where you are and what they are saying, because I could have easily taken that and gone, well, I almost said it. Holy heck. Holy heck. Holy heck. She thinks I'm not strategic, which is initially what in my brain.
Sure.
I didn't say it out loud, but that's in my brain. I'm like, well, okay. She thinks I'm not strategic. I'm absolutely strategic. So, and I'm a kind of an analyst. I have to think about stuff. So when you tell me something that's perceived as potentially negative, I'm a processor. So I have to go think about it. She knows that about me now. And I said, okay, I need to think about this. At some point, I'm talking to Randy, because I'm like, man, I am a strategic person, but clearly either one, not showing her, or two, she doesn't see it. Right? Mm-hmm. Not her fault. That's my fault. So now the goal is the storytelling. And I think that's what's so important in what you described, Randy, and you set the stage for it. It doesn't mean that I'm not a taskmaster, because I absolutely want to get things done. And I want my team to get things done. And I hold accountability around getting those things done, so that we not only fix the issue, but fix the root cause. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about strategic, I don't just look before me at what I need to fix right now. I go to my team and we talk about, how did it get there? Tell me what got us to that point. What do you think the issue is? And they'll say, well, we just need to we need to go into Lawson and we need to go fix that department name. Well, how did the name get wrong in the first place? Well, when we create names, we do blah, 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 blah. Okay. Does each person do it the same way? No, we just pick what whatever the department wants is what we do. So then you go backwards, and I'm like, okay, how can we do that better? So there is a method to the madness, so that every time we name somebody, we are thinking of these three things. And I talk through the team and tell them about that. And that's how we backtrack and create a solution to the problem, not what's right in front of us. Mm-hmm. You can fix a pothole, or you can fix the road.
Yep.
Right? So you can fix the pothole, which is what we do to get by. And then I go back and say, add that to our project list. And we know we need to go look at all departments, and we need to fix that so it's better into the future. Don't have to do it right then, but it's on our list. So when I say
you want it fixed and you want it to stay fixed, you don't.
Yeah, I always tell them
refixing.
Fast is not always best, and easy is not always best. Sometimes it's slow and hard.
That's right.
Right? But slow and hard often is more productive in the long term and less time consuming as well. But it's over the course of time.
Can I ask
you
a
have
question?
to balance those two. Sure.
So when she brought this up and you're immediately thinking, wait a minute, she doesn't think I'm strategic. And right after that, you took ownership of that. You basically took that as, well, that's on me.
Well, yes.
Why did you think that? Because you and I both know there's a lot of people that would think, well, that's on them. they've got me pegged all wrong.
Well, one, she was a new boss, new perspective, and I like to grow. I always believe there's things I can do better. Been in role a long time. At this point, probably 25 years, I've been an HR director. And this is a term I had not heard before. I had not heard you are not strategic. In fact, I was called into meetings by prior leadership for areas I didn't understand because they said, you ask questions that we haven't thought about.
Right.
And, I remember Tom telling me one time, he's like, I am not, anybody that knows me knows I absolutely tell everybody, I am not a numbers girl. If you need something with numbers, you need to ask budget or finance, not Lisa Norris. I can tell you about people like the back of my hand all day long. So Tom used to say, I remember he called me and said, hey, I've added you to the budget meetings. I'm like, Tom, you have lost your mind. I do not know. I do not know about numbers. I don't know about budget. I don't like budget. And why are you doing this to me? What have I done to you? And he just said, no, you ask great questions about things we haven't thought about. And I need that perspective in the meeting. Because I would just, like you call it naive curiosity. Yeah. Have we thought about if we want that in that fund or not, or in this fund where we have, and they're like, oh yeah, we probably should put it over there. You know what I mean? It's just those
you and
kind
I
of
are
things.
Those kids in class that we're not embarrassed to ask the stupid question or the seemingly stupid question because we just want to know that badly.
And I don't do it just because either.
Because at the end of the laugh, I'm going to hopefully get the answer. So hopefully I'm going to know more.
Correct. So as we go back to this, so Cheryl says you need to be more strategic. I think like anybody, I'm a high performer. I do not like to let people down. That was like a gut punch for me. But at the same time, I'm like
looking in the mirror and taking ownership of it.
Immediately, because I'm like, first, anybody who also knows me knows I'm competitive.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how am I going to meet her and meet her needs? Because I know inside me, I am competitive. But if she's not seeing it, that's my issue, not hers. She's telling me what she wants me to be. Why would I not want to be that?
Yeah.
So that's another lens, another set of optics.
That's a big
that I needed to consider.
For anybody listening to this, I think.
Yeah. I want to be the best me I can be. And if that's an aspect she does not see, that is my job to do better for her. Because if I can do that for her, guess what? I'm doing better for others. Maybe I'm not being strategic for my team. Well, guess what? I go back and I said, okay, talk to Randy at some point. He said, well, what do you think the problem is? And I said, well, apparently I'm not telling her what she needs to see my strategy side because I'm absolutely strategic, but I have failed there. And he said, it's about the story. You need to tell the story differently. And that's why I had never heard this term. So he explains to me how to tell a story. And I said, you're right. So now I've got acknowledgement. I've slept on it. I've got a new passion that, okay, now this is one area of my growth that I need to focus on, telling the story different so that she can see it. But my challenge, I don't know if you remember, Randy, I said, I don't know how to brag. I can't brag on myself. You remember that?
Yep.
And he goes, brag? I said, yeah, I don't want to just tell her all the good things we're doing because it's just what we do. I mean, I know we're doing a good job. He said, it's not bragging. Figure out how to tell the story. It's like writing a book. You don't have to tell her everything. Guess what I did today? But he said, you can drop her a note. You can drop her a line and said, hey, we had a really positive interaction with so-and-so. And we got some things solved. Great news. I mean, so I had to think about, okay, how does she receive information? One, I know she's super busy. Two, she gets a ton of emails. Email's not good for her. She will respond. She is high performing.
Email like a hole in the head, like all of them.
Yes. So she doesn't need email. So then I thought, okay, and we do our weeklies. Well, guess what my weeklies? So I'm looking at everything at this point. How am I delivering information to her? What am I focusing on? Well, I look at my weekly list. It's all the projects we've completed, all the tasks we've done, I met with HR this week because, that's what you asked me to do. I got the Lawson update completed. I got NeoGov cards issued. Well, that was no longer what I started doing. I started saying, Well, there was a couple big projects we worked on. And the next, do you remember that payroll issue we had? I got together the team with HR, payroll, and finance, and we troubleshot that. And now we found a solution that's going to help us with payroll moving forward in the next couple of years. Or, I mean, that's just a made up example, but that's the discussion change from these are the 5 things I got done to here's the major projects you were interested in. Here's the projects I'm working on, and here's an issue that I'm collaborating with so-and-so. And then maybe once a month, and it wasn't lined out like every Wednesday I'm going to give her something. It was every now and then I said, man, had a great meeting with, I don't know, the police chief. And we talked about strategies around wellness programs and mental health with that team. Got some great ideas we're going to be pushing out. Just simple stuff that I knew is important to her. So if any of you are looking at something that is told to you that might be a gut punch, it can be a gut punch in the moment. We're human. But what you do with it is everything. You can take it and discount it and not listen to what somebody's telling you. Now, of course, I had respect for her. She had not been mean-spirited. I mean, if you've got a leader that doesn't have your best interest at heart, that doesn't care about what you're doing, this isn't going to work. But in this case, we were building a relationship new. I think we had maybe been 4 months together or something, my boss and I. And so I didn't have any reason not to trust her. And that's an important piece of this, because first, I want to do a good job by her. I want to do a good job by you that's listening, by Randy, by my team. Those are all important factors in the way I'm built. I'm not here just to please, but I'm here to do a great job with whatever you need me to get done, and do it in a manner that serves the best interest of my team, my department, and my city. And ultimately those above me, out beyond, up, out, and down. I always take those into play to serve well as best I can with whatever's given me. So that was what I kept in the forefront, Randy, when she approached me with that. Communication was direct, but that's her style. And I had to listen to what she was asking of me and find a way to meet that in a manner that was conducive and positive for both her and I. It met both of our needs. And guess what? Here we are today. She trusts me. She respects me. She asks my input. I mean, I would venture to guess that we share great dialogue on things that are of issue for the city, not just me any longer. So I know there's trust that's been established and developed, and that's what's key. Had I taken a different approach, had I said, this is ridiculous, I'm strategic and she doesn't know what she's talking about, and just gone about and had high ego and low self-awareness, this could have been a completely different outcome. And I think many people that I work with get trapped in that. They believe they are good because that's what they've been told in the past. I was good too. I was good at a lot of things. But guess what? There's a gap that somebody's identified, and it's somebody I haven't worked with recently, and it's somebody that came from outside our city in. Why would I not listen to that perspective and consider it? Why? I mean, you need to. So the storytelling is very important. And then beyond the storytelling, like I mentioned, it's navigating the how to do that effectively with the person for which you're trying to tell your story differently. You need to understand them. You need to know what counts, and don't just, I always say, don't make it look like a scatter chart with the dots all over the place. Don't just throw something. I really had to think about, how do I need to communicate to her about what and when? Those are the things that count, because I'm not a braggadocious person. I honestly could not tell a story at all, and I would be fine with myself, because I know at the end of the day, I'm doing a good job by those I serve. But that doesn't serve her well, and that doesn't serve the city for what she needs from me in the leadership position. So those are the things that I learned that were critical.
Well, a simple foundation for me. So I'm a teenager. I'm selling stereo equipment, and any brand of electronics is, there's model numbers. So let's get it down to a Sony model XYZ.
Right.
Well, if I'm selling a Sony model XYZ, and you can drive across town, and they're also selling a Sony model XYZ, it's the same. It's the same product. It's the exact same product. And I'm 16 years old or so. And it dawns on me, I have an epiphany one day, because I am just a man in search of an epiphany.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And I had an epiphany, and the epiphany was I'm with a customer, and come on, in sales, you're wanting to fill the need or the desire of the shopper. And different people like different things. I couldn't tell you what the feature was. I couldn't even tell you what the product was, but I remember it clear as day. I began to enumerate some features of this product, and I'm looking at body language, and his eyes light up, and I can see I've hit on something, and I ask, would that be an important feature? Oh yeah. And he goes on to enumerate why this was an important feature. And I sold him the product. And I remember going home that night and thinking, I got credit for that feature in that product because I'm the one who told him about it. I didn't make the product. I'm not an engineer. It's the same model that anybody else carries, but they don't get credit for that feature because they didn't tell him about it. When he went and shopped at the competitor, they did not tell him. I told him. And that forever changed my whole thinking about this storytelling. Again, we're not talking about fiction. We're talking about complete honesty, total truthfulness. But
it's the how. It's the how.
But I got credit because I told him about it.
And you got trust too.
Yeah, my competitors didn't get that. And so I use that illustration to hopefully, help paint a picture for you. Isn't it funny that those toxic people, those people that high performers are sitting here wondering, man, are they ever going to do anything with this person? Are they ever going to get rid of this person? Are they ever going to do anything at all with this person? Am I stuck with this person the rest of my career? And everybody's got them figured out, because unlike you, if they get that gut punch moment, they're resentful, they're bitter, and they're immediately blaming the person who's heard a certain story, and as though they don't have any part in it.
Yeah, or potentially I've seen it over many years. You've seen it especially in HR, because we're working with so many departments on corrective. I've seen it go so many ways, but the number one result of a difficult conversation gone south, where there, is the, like you said, is the resentment and the disengagement. There's disengagement. It's hard to get them back, right? Because they have to make a choice. Do they want to correct? Do they want to improve? Or do they believe themselves to be the best version at that moment? And it's all about their belief system and their choice to take criticism given and do something with it or not. And that it ultimately comes down to that. Similar to your experience, I'll add a story, and you probably don't know this about me, even after 2 years, is I worked in a wireless, I think it was wireless. This is back in the 90s, phone store in the mall.
Okay.
This was a part-time job in college. Don't even know if they're still around, but it was AT&T at the time. And I don't know if they still, but it was, remember when the new cell phone came out, it was like, for people that can see me, it was like half the length of my forearm to my hand.
Yeah, it was like
it curved around your face. Yeah. And then it had this long antenna you pull out from the top.
Yeah.
Okay. So the whole thing was probably 15 inches long,
Right.
but it was like you can go 20 feet away from the base.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
something. I mean, it was very small. These are brand new out where you don't have to have the cord.
Yeah. Freedom.
I'm a kid and I'm in between getting out of college and trying to get a full-time job working at the mall. The other people are on commission. There's these two ladies on commission
Yep.
sitting in the back of the room, chatting by the wall.
I can see it coming.
I start, I'm just, I'm the same me I am now. I'm friendly, I'm engaging. I knew they were on commissions. I always would sit back and see if they're going to like literally get up and walk to the customer or going to wait for the customer to come to them. I had learned, I was so eager. I was like, oh, I'm just going to learn about all these projects. This phone's new. I wish I could afford it. That's cool. My dad would like it. So I just start like you learning about it. Customer comes in. I kind of look over at them. They're just still chatting, looking at the customer. So I just walk up to them and I said, hey, how can I help you today? They're like, well, I heard about these cell phones that had come out and you can actually walk. And I said, oh yeah, there's a couple of them. We kind of have these expensive ones and we lower end. Do you have to kind of arrange so I can keep that in mind? And they tell me, they're like, I'd rather go all in. If we're going to go, I want to go all in. I said, well, let me start with the top one. And if it's got features you like, let's start there. And then we can back down if it's too much, too little. I said, but it is pretty cool. It has this antenna that comes out and you can go like 20 feet away. And they're like, 20 feet, Right. So we go through this. I show them the features. I'm like, yeah, you dial. Here's a sample one we got hooked up if you want to try it. And I took one, she took one. And we kind of, she's like, well, that's awesome. So she's like, yeah, no problem. You sold me. Okay. And so she buys the two ladies fuming.
Oh yeah. They hate your guts.
Fuming. They're like, you're stealing all our sales. And I can't believe you could have given her to us. And I said, I didn't take or give anything. I said, no. I looked at you. You didn't move. She clearly has a question. She's walked in the store. I just offered to help her. And they're like, well, you're stealing all our sales. And we're going to tell the manager. I said, oh, okay, go tell the manager.
Do what you got to do.
Next thing I know, there's another college intern and me. Those two girls are gone.
Yeah. And
we're running the store. Right. But it's about the customer, not the sale. It's about the customer, not the sale. That's so right. It's not about the ask from my boss to be more strategic. It's about the customer and what I need. She's my customer. How do I meet her needs?
Yeah.
Your situation and my situation, it is about the customer and what they need to get what they need, right? What did they need from me to meet their needs? And that's what we have to do as leaders and employees. You may not even be a leader, but if your leader asks something of you, what do you need to do to deliver that? Or it can only make you better. Why would you not want to do that?
Yeah.
Why would you not want to make yourself better?
It's unwise, in my opinion, to be transactional, because transactions are a dime a dozen. We want something deeper and something more loyal than just a transaction. So you could view this whole interaction, whether it's with a direct report, whether it's with a peer, or whether it's with a boss, and you could view it as transactional. I think that's a mistake. It needs to be something more than that. And so
the challenge, Randy, becomes as we talk about this, I'm sure there's many listeners alluding to my earlier comments that say, well, great for you. You have a good relationship. You have a boss that's interested in you. You have a boss that invested in you. Randy, what would you say if they come back and I don't have that? Mine is always criticizing. Mine is always demeaning.
Well, you and I have been places where people came up and expressed that exact same sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that I've got a pat answer, but I mean, grow where you're planted. I will maintain to my dying breath, if we can serve the boss, in this case, your example, the boss who seems unworthy, then how much better can we serve the boss who may enter our life that is worthy?
That's right.
I mean, so you can sit here and we can make personal judgments all day long on, well, they don't deserve. Okay, but what do you deserve?
Yeah.
Do you not deserve to do your dead level best? It's why I kind of started with, it really starts with, it doesn't start with telling the story and then let's live up to that story. No, let's reverse that. Live the story. When Lisa told you what she told you about this whole strategic thing, Lisa didn't go change anything. Lisa was already living this life. She was executing strategic things. She just was not making that enough of the story for her boss to really see it. Now, her boss, super busy, a lot going on, juggling an awful lot of stuff. So they're developing the story based on the information that other people are giving them, as they should, and we all do.
Yes.
So
and what they could see in their role at that time.
Yeah.
Mind you, everybody, this is in the middle of COVID where we were all working from home with a new relationship.
Yeah.
So that added a component that's important. It's not just about the story you tell, but I started inviting her, and she would tell you this if you talk to her. I said, hey, we're doing a Thoughtful Thursday. Might be worth jumping on today. The topic's X, if you have time. And I would invite her strategically to those, and she could see it for herself. She almost experience it. So there was many ways that I was able to tell a different story. And that's not to say I didn't need to grow in greater strategy either. I mean, what it taught me is, okay, am I doing the best in strategy I can do for my team, for my boss, for the city, and for, the department as a whole? And I'm sure along the way, there was things I even improved there. I'm just a big fan. I'm just one, listeners, that I am not afraid to fail. It's you fall 6 times, but you get up 7. I'm that girl. I don't mind the fall. I get up, dust myself off. Okay, now what? And it just challenged me. It just makes me pursue it harder.
You're not afraid to succid either, though.
No.
You're not afraid to step it up and do.
I'm not afraid to take a risk.
The story,
yeah, that's exactly right.
I'm going to maintain the story was always true. The story was never a fable. The story was never an embellishment. The story was completely truthful and honest and authentic with how she was living and how she still lives today. And I just need to state that. This isn't about, I'm going to sell my boss on this. I could have told, we used to joke, I had a coworker when I was a teenager, and we would joke back in the break room that if a customer said, well, does it have this feature? His answer to all those questions was always, yeah. So we would joke with him, well, do you want it to have this feature or that feature? Yeah, it's got that. And well, it wouldn't have that at all. We're not talking about that.
That's right.
There's a lot of people in the sales world that do that. I mean, would you like it to be this, that, or the other? It is this, that, and the other. No, that's not what we're talking about. You gotta live the story before you can tell the story. You live the story so that you can share the story. But we just sometimes lose sight of the fact that, I mean, how many people, I'm thinking of all the countless people that I've talked to that just think, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, and everybody just ought to pick up on that. Like we've all got nothing better to do than to watch you and watch what's going on in your life. And so,
and it's a careful balance. It's a careful balance of not being braggadocious or high ego to say, okay, you don't know that I'm doing strategy? Well, here's the 28 things on my list and send it to me. That doesn't work either. That's not strategy. I just hate to tell you, you just fulfilled what they said you weren't, So you have to think of what, again, it's the how. How do I need to tell the story, and how do I need to deliver that story to demonstrate what I am doing, and then improve upon if you find areas that you're not doing well and make them better.
Thanks for watching and listening to Grow Great, a city government leadership podcast. For Lisa Norris, I'm Randy Cantrell. Be well, do good, grow great. The website is growgreat.com.